A DMCT guy. That's right. It came in. I got another delivery from Classic Firearms. I mentioned that I was so impressed with the Chinese SKS that I got from them. I know I got a problem. I bought another one. So, I'm going to attempt a one-handed opening of... I got a better angle here. I'm going to attempt to open this on camera here. So bear with me with the shakiness. So I'm thinking to myself, what other opportunity am I going to have? You know, what if these things dry up? That's what I'm thinking. So I said to myself, let's get another one. This could be an investment one. If this one looks better than the other one, I could always sell the other one. So I picked hand select on this one. I paid an extra $25 to get hand select. So here we go. Let's take a look. Crossing my fingers here, this one's decent. I make it very easy for Classic Firearms, so I'm hoping they help me out. You know what I mean? I'm hoping they can help me out and get me a good one. I didn't bug them. They didn't call them. I have an FFL, so that means, you know, they don't have to go through an FFL or send it to a gun shop or something like that. They just send it directly to me. So, they make it very easy for them. So, oh man, this is definitely harder than it looks to do with one hand. But I promised everybody that I was going to do this on video, and I'm going to show step by step. I know nothing unique. There's many videos out there of people doing this. I'm going to do an unboxing, a proper unboxing and a proper decosmolining, but this is just going to be the first impression kind of thing. Oh, gotta be gentle with this thing, one-handed. So, at first glance, this actually looks pretty good. The bluing on this one is a hell of a lot better than the bluing on the one that I just got. Yeah. Let's see, do we got... Let's see. Wow. Okay. We got matching serial numbers. That's good. Let's see. I don't see any cracks on the stock. And I like this one already because this one has the swivel on the bottom. The other one has it right here. I don't like that at all. Because when you point it to your point it and you aim it, it hits the side of your face when you shoot it. And I haven't shot it yet, but I can imagine it getting in the way. Let's see, butt plate. Can't see if there's any serial numbers or anything. No serial number on the stock itself, but I could see right off the bat the magazine is matching the receiver serial number. Let's see. Let's see about the back here. Here is no serial number on the back. Okay. For all intents and purposes, it looks like we have at least matching serial number on the magazine well and matching serial number on the receiver, which is great. I'll check other places too. I know there's more locations where there's more serial numbers. Like for example, at the bottom of the the trigger guard is matching. Okay, so this is good. It's all matching. This is in actually pretty good condition. I gotta say, hand select worked out pretty well. I could tell you right off the bat though, this is not original to this. I think this entire lot, wherever they came from, I can't remember what Classic Firearms said where this stuff, oh, bad, sorry guys about the blurriness, but I think what they said on Classic Firearms is that wherever these came from, they obviously had to do some mixing and matching of parts. For example, this does not match, and I think a lot of them probably came that way. So I guarantee you that's not meant for this gun. But there's no cracks anywhere on this, which is nice. I cannot tell what type of trigger this is. I don't know if this is milled. It looks exactly the same one that I have already, and that is a stamped. But everything else on this is perfect. So I'm going to do another couple videos, and we're going to mash them all together. It's going to be probably a 3 or 4 part series of me stripping the Cosmoline off this, showing you guys how I'm going to do it, cleaning it, and then I might take both of them out at the same time one day and shoot them both for you. But this is nice. I'm fairly impressed with this one. They did a really good job on the hand select on this. It's fine. And you know, maybe one day I might change these out. Since they're not original, what the heck, you know. But I don't plan on doing much by means of changing these things in any way, like, you know, new stocks or anything crazy like that. So anyway, we're going to go on to the next step, which is decosmolining these guys. But thanks again to Classic Firearms. Damn CT guy. So we just did step 1, which is unboxing. We did it out in the garage, on the floor of my garage. Step 2 is going to be disassembly. In order to disassemble a SKS that's gunkdified, I mean, this is a much better light. Now you can see, I mean, unbelievable how much Cosmoline is on these, but it's a good thing they did, because it is preserving this rifle completely. So there's tons of Cosmoline, and you got to get it all off. That is going to be step 3, but this next step here, we're going to talk about what you need to do that. So as you can see, there's a bucket there. We need a bucket. Obviously we need the SKS, pair of gloves, nitrile gloves or any other gloves, disposable gloves, because you're going to end up needing to throw them away after you're done. Tools, persuading tools, and a lot of this can be taken apart by hand, but you're going to need a hammer and some sort of, you could use not a pin, anyway, anything to pop the trigger out. Punches usually work. That's the word I was looking for. Punches. I just use I have punches. I might even use it. I don't know. I'm just probably going to use an old screwdriver and a hammer. So you're going to definitely need that. Paper towels, and the most important thing is going to be your hot water. So there's a hot water boiler right there. You're going to need that hot water, steaming hot boiling water, and I'll show you why in a few minutes. Take a look. These are the things you're going to need. Very simple. A bucket, some gloves, tools, and a hot water boiler. That's going to be super important, and I'll show you guys each step along the way what I'm doing here. That's what's going to happen. Alright, there she is. Bucket of parts. Bucket of SKS parts. It took me approximately 30 minutes to totally disassemble, and I forgot to mention that paper towels are going to be your best friend in this, because it's, first of all, better to wipe down as you go. You know, to remove some of the Cosmoline while you go is definitely helpful. So the best thing you do is wipe it down. I had a lot of trouble with the magazine, getting that out. Busted my knuckle. That's why when I mentioned tools, I ended up using this really large screwdriver, a persuader tool I call it, to persuade it out of the chassis here, because it was really hard. Usually it drops right off, but man, it was definitely sticking. So I got it out, fell to the ground. Hopefully nothing happened to it. But here's all the parts. Wiped it down the best I could. But the next step is probably going to, well, I know it's going to work the best in this. The stock itself is in fairly good condition. There is a little bit right here that's chipped off. I don't know if that was done on purpose. Let's see if I can get that in. Let's see how that's chipped off there. I think maybe one of the soldiers might have done that. I don't know, but all in all, the wood's in really good condition. I think this is a proper 68 stock, because of, not only because of that, because of this, how it's notched there. It's a pretty neat little feature. But this is in the I believe this is in the 13,000 range of serial numbers, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check here. I'm gonna take a old rag. I'll lift this up because I don't have my gloves on. Yeah, in the 12 million range. So that brings you to approximately 68 period for these guys, and that is a proper 68 period stock. My last video, I guess my stock that came on the SKS is not a 68, but that's fine. You know what, I really don't care about the mix matching, as long as it is what it is, you know what I mean? It's nice to have all matching, which this one is, which is nice. I didn't ask for that, but it's nice to have that, obviously, but it's not necessary. These are pieces of history, and I'm here to preserve them. It's an investment as well, investment in the future. It's also my love for the work of art, for the Chi-Com and the Com block weaponry that's out there. And that's the reason why I do it. That's why I have a passion for it, because I absolutely love this era worth of firearms. They're awesome. The history, the way they're made, their durability, functionality. They're, some people call them crude and cheap, but you know what? For what they had back then, it's kind of amazing what they came up with, and all the other countries that are with them, the Soviet Union adopted their pattern for rifles, obviously, because they're part of the communist bloc. Anyway, enough history lesson. So back to the stock. Stock is in good condition. Somebody mentioned in the last video about using Goo Gone. I told the person I wouldn't use the Goo Gone on the actual metal parts. Not necessary. The hot water and the boiler is what you need the most to get that cosmoline off, the most effective. You know, instead of using a bunch of chemicals, you could do that in the last step when you finally do the final cleaning. I would use the Goo Gone on the wood to get, there's always going to be a layer of cosmoline that's really hard to wipe off. I mean, you could just use straight paper towels. Paper towels, again, are your best friend. Look at how many I used. But you can speed up the process a little bit in some hard spots, you know, to get the cosmoline off of the wood. I find it works pretty good on the wood, but on the metal, it really doesn't matter. Again, using straight hot water is the best. So anyway, I could ramble on all night, but here's the next step. Boil the water. Alright, on to the next step. Here is my water boiler. Something pretty simple. Boiled it. I'm going to show you exactly what I do. This is the step that matters on your removal of cosmoline. All you do is you pour it directly on the metal parts, soaking everything and making a smelly, that is a rich cosmoline tea you're making. You're letting it steep. You're pouring it slowly, watching it steam up in the bucket, trying to get it all over soaking these parts because there is, oops, sorry guys, tons of Cosmo on here. But the point is literally just douse the thing in hot water. I know there are going to be people being like, oh my god, you're ruining it. Trust me. If hot water, boiling hot water, ruins an SKS, then it's not worth it. Then I will stop what I'm doing and I will give up on all my dreams of all comm block weaponry if this hurts it. But I can tell you it doesn't, because I've done this numerous times with numerous different firearms. Removal of cosmoline. Anyway, so you can see in there, I don't know if you can see in there or not, but there is a oil sheen. The first time you do this, it is going to pull off tons of Cosmo. And you're going to want to let it sit for a while, because a lot of that is steeping and getting soft. Shake it around a little bit. You know, it's not going to really hurt the parts much. A couple scratches, who cares? It's going to give it a little character. But you're going to want to shake her up a little bit. I tend to just dump this stuff in the yard. It's really not too environmentally bad for your lawn. It's just cosmoline. It'll just go into the soil. No big deal. You got to get rid of it somehow. I don't want to put it down the drain, because if you do that, then it'll clog up your pipes really good, because this stuff, when it cools off, it gets really cakey. You definitely don't want to put this in your toilet, if you have a septic tank, nothing like that. Now you can see, I mean, look at that. It is cosmoline galore in there. So you're going to want to do this probably, you know, I'd say total amount of times, including doing the barrel assembly and receiver, you're probably going to want to do this about 5 to 6 times total, or until you see most of the cosmoline has melted off. And then the next step after this is total disassembly of the smaller components. You probably don't have to do the trigger. I do take the bolt down though, because that's where the firing pin is. That's super important. You're going to want to make sure there's no cosmoline on the firing pin, because that firing pin is going to get slow, and if it gets stuck, you're going to have a slam fire, and that's notorious with these firearms, and you do not want to inhibit that in any way. Or not inhibit, you're not going to want to encourage that anymore by keeping the cosmoline inside that bolt and gunking it up where the firing pin gets stuck and causes a slam fire, because the entire magazine will go off, and you don't want that. So again, hot water, boil a bunch of it, pour it, dump the water out, you know, do it many times until you feel that most of the cosmoline's off, and then elbow grease after that. So we'll get to the next steps in a little bit. Yeah, that's all right now. Alright, still have my bucket full of parts, and still at decosmolining this bad boy. I also mentioned the trigger. I did say that this was a stamped. It is a stamped. And I was trying to find the word of what other type of trigger. They call it the milled trigger. This is not a milled trigger. And on my other SKS, it is also not a milled trigger. So I just wanted to also bring this next part up to let you guys know that when you start cleaning these old turn-in military Chinese SKSs from the Vietnam era, you're going to notice some things about it that the cosmoline hides, and kind of sucks. Excuse me. Now, I could tell you that even though the bluing is nicer on this one, I did notice some issues with this particular rifle. Even though my other rifle, as you've seen in other videos, was more battle worn and the bluing was coming off, most, if not all, the parts were in great condition. Compared to this one, it's quite surprising. There are some issues to this one that I found, and I'm gonna have to fix. So it's gonna make this video series a little bit longer. So the first thing right off the bat, you notice how this trigger safety flops around? Okay, well, there is a spring in here. Let me see if I can zoom in. See if my camera can catch this. There we go. You see the the fork-shaped thing in there? That's actually a spring. So what's happening is there's a gap between the horseshoe shape, and you can see it actuating there. Typically, this horseshoe-shaped or this fork-shaped spring is pushed down further and it interacts with the safety. This one is not doing that. So what I'm going to probably have to do is actually strip this trigger down, take that part off, bend it back to the shape it's supposed to be in, and then reassemble so the trigger, or so the safety will actually work. Right now it doesn't stay in safe properly, and that could be an issue, you know, shooting the thing. So that's one thing I got to do. Sorry for the blurriness there and my cough. The next thing is this. This is a very beat up upper handguard piston, you know, guard. Very beat up. Does not match the stock at all. And you'll notice right here, see if I can get it to focus again. Sorry guys. Just focusing on the silly bucket there. There you go. You noticed? Look at that. I tried gluing it with super glue. That didn't work. I'm going to use some wood glue right there, and I'm going to attempt to fix this. That's a pretty easy fix and really not a big deal, but as you can see, this thing is in terrible condition. That's okay though. Again, not a big deal. If I need to, I'll buy an upper handguard piece. So the next thing, I don't really care that you guys see the serial number. The real serial number's on the other side. Look at this pitting. Now you can't see that because the stock is covering it, but that is some major pitting. I'm going to attempt to remedy that. What is that 22 number right there? That's a neat. Circle 26, Chinese writing, and the serial number. The old serial number. So the pitting on this is crazy. But the good news is it doesn't go through to the other side. It doesn't seem like, it's just very bad surface pitting, rust, which no big deal. I'm gonna try to remedy that. I can definitely take care of that. So now you can see it. It's in some other spots too. Again, not a deal breaker. Not that bad. This is going to be a shooter, that's for sure. Both of them are. And you can also see in there on that upper handguard ring, the capture ring there, it's rusted, and there's some gunk in there that I got to chip out. But other than that, the barrel is in really good shape. Very good rifling still on the barrel. Not disappointed with that at all. Other than that, I don't see any other real major issues. There is some darkening in areas on the bolt. You can see there. Not a big deal. That's not cosmoline. That's staining the beginning stages of rust. But a little elbow grease, I can get that out. Not a big deal again. So, yeah, just be forewarned. You know, these things come in and they're completely covered with cosmoline. You cannot see exactly every little detail until you start cleaning these things. And there may be things you're going to need to fix. You just have to come to the realization of that. Unfortunately, it's something you got to do. But again, that's part of restoring these things. It could be a slow process. It's not going to be as easy as just spending one night getting everything off and going out and shooting it the next day. My last rifle took me approximately 3 or 4 nights to actually complete and get up into good condition to shoot. So it's going to take some time. Have some patience. Don't call up Classic Firearms getting mad at them because they sold you a used rifle, because that's exactly what this is. So keep that in mind. And we'll go on to the next step shortly and show you what I'm going to do. Alright guys, still at it. So I'm down to these parts that I kind of need to still soak a little bit. Got to wipe them down. I still got to do the barrel with some hot water. But now I'm actually getting down to the nitty-gritty. I have parts absolutely everywhere. I got to keep them in place. Those are done over there. Your piston rod, your push rod. This is actually for the bolt, which I'm taking apart here. And I'm going to tell you guys something about that in a little bit. I'm actually taking apart the trigger because I'm going to replace the safety spring. And I'm going to probably smooth down some surfaces while I'm at it, since I'm going to be already in there and do a little bit of a trigger job. Here's some of the trigger parts. I got the disconnector out. I got the magazine catch, the latch catch, and a pin. The pin, one pin so far has come out pretty easily. I'm just worried taking the safety apart, or the trigger apart, because I've never taken apart an SKS trigger before. But you know what? I'll learn something, so I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna take it apart. Worst case scenario, I screw it up and I have to buy a whole new trigger, and that will kill the whole matching serial number thing. Again, I still got to do the barrel, but what I want to show you, what I'm doing here, shut off the video there. What I'm doing here is I'm using just some standard, some cheap old gun hops oil, and I'm actually putting the oil on the bolt, and I'm using, see how it's all stained right there? I'm using some steel wool, and I'm actually rubbing it down with the steel wool, and that's removing a lot of the stains. Show you an example what I'm talking about. So this is the extractor. Let's see if I can get that to focus in on here. Extractor was just as stained, and I used the steel wool and was able to get a lot of those stains out and smooth the surfaces. So that's cool. Also the same with the piston rod, also smoothing down and shining up the surfaces. Got a lot of the carbon off the tip of that. It's amazing though, these Chinese SKSs, the tips of the pistons are really chipped up a lot. I wonder why that is. They may have manufactured these in haste and didn't really take into consideration some of the tolerances. But you can see it's not that bad, but there are some chips at the end of that. Usually that means the piston rod is smacking into something and chipping away at it, or when it drives home, it's smacking the inside of the gas chamber above the barrel. So, but the rod's perfectly fine, perfectly straight. There's no deviations in it or anything like that. So that's fine. So it's again, slow process. I haven't even gotten to the stock yet. That's still sitting up on my safe. But this is a slow process. Again, it's going to take a while. You guys basically just have to keep your patience. I may even do a little bit of the steel wool on these areas here, because you can see some of the surface rust and pitting. I'm going to probably take care of that. But yeah, that's below the barrel. I'm not too worried about it. Still got to remove a lot of the cosmoline off this thing. So the steps continue. Okay, so I got terrible light here, but I'm going to show you I had to knock out all the guts out of this trigger. Here are all the components right there. Let me tell you, your best friend is going to be some good punches, a good hammer, and a good vise. I don't have this connected to a bench right now because I'm actually changing my bench out. Word of advice, use some anti-seizing type of spray or something in there. I use Kenacrol, which is this stuff right here. This stuff is really good. It gets into the crevices of screws and pins. And after you let that soak into the crevices of the pinholes, I use a little bit of heat to persuade them. So you heat them up with one of those blowtorch lighters. And just be patient and be steady with the hammer and the punch, and all the parts will come out. These pins, I'm telling you right now, this is probably one of the hardest triggers I've ever had to work on. Knocking out pins. As you can see, I left a lot of them in the frame. So again, this is the one of many steps. I thought this video was going to be a lot quicker. Unfortunately, it's not going to be. It's going to be a very big video with a lot of steps and a lot of things I want to show you guys. Unfortunately, since I'm a one-man crew here and I can't show exactly what I'm doing as I'm doing it, I'll just show you what I am up to, basically. And if you want detailed videos on how to, take apart a SKS trigger, unfortunately, these are not the videos for that, but there's plenty online, and you can check those out. So again, I'm still at it. This has been about a week since I purchased the SKS, and I'm still at it with it. So you're gonna come along for the ride. All right, so I did get the trigger all disassembled and all cleaned up. Again, very, very difficult getting these pins out. These are the two culprits right here. Now, this is the culprit right here, this safety, and this spring. These are the two culprits. I was able to bend this, but I don't know exactly how much to bend it, so I did order a new spring, and I'll just keep this as a backup, and I'll keep this safety as a backup too. They're in just fine condition. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just that in this trigger, it wasn't interacting properly. As you can remember, I was showing you how the safety was flopping. It was just, there was no engagement with the spring here. So I got the parts coming in the mail, and I'm gonna end up putting everything back together, hopefully. And then this is really the last thing I have to do before I assemble the SKS. Everything is cleaned, and I'll actually show you. I should have had this prepared before I started the video, but I got this completely cleaned. The one good thing about this one is the bluing on this excuse me, is really good, and it took care of that nasty pitting that was on here. It's still there. You can still see the pitting, but there's no rust in it anymore, which is good. So I got rid of the pitting, and I was able to fix this upper handguard. Like I remember showing you that it was loose. I wood glued it. I put a couple of different types of glue, and I can actually sand that to smooth it down so it's not shiny, but I really don't care because this upper handguard is really, really bad. So I don't know. It doesn't really match the stock, but for now I'm going to keep it, and maybe down the road attempt to change it out and put a if I can get a good enough deal, I'll get a different one. I think anything's going to be better than this one, but it'll serve its purpose. It might bother me enough where I do end up getting a new one, but you know, the bluing on it is pretty good. The barrel's really good. Let me see if I can get it to focus. Nice chrome line. The bore, I don't think I'll be able to get inside the bore, but the bore is nice and shiny. Rifling is very pronounced. You know, the bluing is pretty good in this gun. Besides for a couple issues quality wise, you know, I'm still happy with the purchase. It's just a lot more work, but now I have a pretty good respect for the trigger because I could not imagine, first of all, how many pieces and how overly engineered this trigger is and how complicated it is. But now that I know everything about it and I took one apart, I'm pretty comfortable with the SKS trigger. So yeah, so I got everything. Everything is pretty much done with this. Now I just need to get the parts in the mail for the trigger, put it together, and then start assembling everything, and then test fire. I'm not going to do this series of videos with the total strip down and decosmolining, this type of video that I'm doing. I'm not going to include the shooting, and that's going to be a different video because I'm actually going to try to shoot both of the SKSs to test them both. But check out that score today. I got a couple boxes of Winchester 22 long rifle and 22 Win Mag ammunition. Picked it up at Walmart today. Pretty cool. Pretty cheap too. But anyway, it was available. So yeah, on to the next step. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm still working on the trigger. I finally got everything in. Here's the new safety latch. Got that in. I did get the safety spring. I also picked up a sling, standard type of sling. This one is a little bit different. It's a I don't know if you could see it at the leather strap. I also decided that I'm going to refinish the stock. Since I'm going all out and really trying to, I don't know, since I have to do a lot of work to this thing as it is, I decided I'm going to refinish this stock and I'm going to make it beautiful. I ordered some stuff on Amazon, some crud cutter, some stain, the Birchwood Casey. I think it's called True Oil. It's a stain. I think I got the True Oil and I got the other one. It's the Walnut Stain. Look it up. There's two. There's one that you treat the wood, and there's before you put the stain on. But it's a whole process, and the first thing I got to do is actually clean. So what I'm going to use first is some Murphy's oil soap on the wood and try to clean it with that with some warm water and a brush. You can see I got a brush there. Then I got some crud cutter coming. I'm going to spray it down with crud cutter. Then I'm going to do some treatments to the wood. I'm going to sand the wood, and then I'm going to stain the wood. And hopefully it comes out good because this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. So should be interesting. So I also have to work on the trigger. That's next, and then I should be done with this thing. Just want to let everybody know too, I contacted Classic Firearms letting them know about my situation, and they were nice enough to offer me a credit. So if you end up getting a unfunctional firearm, I would suggest contacting them. They're really good people there. So but you know what, if you're getting something that has a cracked stock, or if you have something because you don't like the finish on it, I wouldn't contact them because that's not fair. This is a turn-in gun. Again, this is covered in cosmoline. They don't know, but they do offer, you know, they do say that on their website when you're purchasing this, these are fully functional SKS rifles. So when I got mine, the trigger not being functional, that's obviously not a functional firearm. So they helped me out. I sent them a video of what was going on, and we're good. So, alright, so what I want to show you guys, what I'm going to do with this, very simply, I'm going to dip my brush, and then I'm just going to go over it. I'm going to probably do this a little bit more detail, a little better with two hands when I put the video down. But the Murphy's oil soap is really good for cleaning wood and getting the crap out. So this is a good treatment to do. So just use the warm water, use a brush, apply it. Try to get all the cosmoline and the junk up. Any pitting that you see, not pitting, but like indents, if they're not deep, too deep, you can actually use an iron to pull them up. There's a process in doing that. I'm probably not going to go that far, but if you're interested in seeing how it's done, check out Iraq Veteran 8888. He has a great video on refinishing a stock. I'm not sure what stock he refinishes. It's about an 11-year-old video, but it's a good one. It gave me some tips on how to do this, and I think I'm pretty confident now. So it continues, guys. It continues. I know what you're saying. At the MCT guy, you're crazy. This is one long video. It is. It's going to be a very long video, and I didn't expect it to be this long. This SKS project is definitely taking my time. But I think it's going to pay off when it's all done. I think it's going to be a very, very, very beautiful rifle when I am done. It kind of sucks that I have to go through all this because my other one was a lot easier. And in my opinion, it still looks a lot nicer even though it's battle worn. So now you're probably wondering, what am I doing? You already did this step at the MCT guy. You already used your oil soap and scrubbed this thing. I did. I scrubbed it down, used a lot of the oil soap, Murphy's oil soap, and scrubbed this thing down. I also took some very fine sandpaper and some, it's like a sandpaper sponge kind of thing, and I sanded the whole thing down. But there are still areas where you could see there is some, it's the finish, and it's also some of the grime from the cosmoline over the years. I mean, this rifle's over 50 years old. This stock is over 50 years old, I mean, so there's a lot of stuff in here that still needs to come off before you can actually get to the fine wood before we refinish. So the next step, after I did the sanding, and my first round of sanding, it's nice and smooth. You can start seeing some of the features in the wood, but we're still not, the finish is still not off this thing, meaning the stain's still not off it. So I got to get a lot of the stain off and some of that deep down crud, and this is where this comes in, crud cutter. This stuff will bring up a lot of the oils and everything without hurting the wood. So what you kind of want to do with this is have some warm water again, and you want to start spraying it on the stock. You can also do the first step too, and I already did one area, is wet the stock down. You can even go over where you already just did this, wet it down, you know, get the warm water on it, and then spray this on the stock and let it sit for a while. And then when it's done, you can actually, you know, there's a couple things. You can wipe it off, or you can lay down some paper towel, terry cloth, or cheesecloth, lay it down and let a lot of the gunk soak into the cloth, and then pull it up. You can also help this along by scrubbing it with a brush, and you'll start seeing immediately that the crud that's caked into this stock will start coming off. So this is the next thing I'm going to do, and then after this I'm going to hit the sander really good, and then I'm going to go on to the next step, is the pre-treat of the wood with a pre-treat, a min-wax pre-treating for stain. I'm going to use Bertrand Casey True Oil and the Bertrand Casey Walnut Stain, and then at that point it should be done. Alright, so this video has become a monster, but I'm hoping once I'm all done with this, you guys will see a step-by-step, kind of step-by-step, or like a nice overview of what I had to go through on my second SKS purchase from Classic Firearms. And they said that they would credit me and help me out. I have yet to hear back from them, so I think they kind of ghosted me. But I did get the trigger done, and I'll show you that in a sec. So I decided I was going to replace this upper handguard because of the crack and the overall condition. So I took it apart, and you can see it's pretty pitted, pretty bad, but still functional. This is all external and goes under the handguard. You can see it's pretty bad. But I got it all apart. Very complicated, and then I ended up buying a new upper handguard that's in slightly, well, it's in better condition, and I'm gonna refinish that. And the stock, all sanded, all prepped. Last night, and I didn't do any video of this because I just wanted to get it done. I did one more coat of sanding with 250 grit sandpaper. Treated it with the Minwax pre-stain application treatment, and then I went and I did one coat of the Birchwood Casey walnut stain, and it actually came out pretty nice. I'm gonna probably do 2 more coats of this. That's a water-based stain, so it's a concentrate. So basically you pour some of this into a container and you add equal parts water. So yeah, that's what I had to do with that. And I want to show you guys as well. I got the good old bucket of parts here. And here's the trigger. I rebuilt it. I have the new safety latch on it. Now it's finally, here I'll show you guys, trying to do this with one hand. Actuating like it's supposed to be. See the trigger? Spring in there. It's not a standard fork style. See that? But I got that together, put this together. I'm telling you right now, this is one of the hardest trigger builds I've ever had to do in my entire life. I will never take this apart again. And yeah, it was very hard to take apart. It sucked, but I did it. That's done. All the parts are clean. They're all perfectly clean, lubed, ready to go. And now I just have to finish the stock, put everything together, and I will finally be done with this. Alright guys, this is on to the next thing. I'm going to do one more coat today, and then I'm going to go to the, let me show you guys, the True Oil process, which gives you that glossy look on the stock. One suggestion, if you guys are going to do your own stain, get some cheesecloth. It's really good, and some terry cloth to apply the use the cheesecloth to apply the stain and the treatment and all that good stuff. Anything you apply, use the cheesecloth, and anything you want to wipe away, use the terry cloth, and make sure there's no lint on it when you're doing it. But I'll show you guys the True Oil process. I'll put it together and make a final video once everything is done. Alright, here's the next step. As you can see, the stock is a different color now. It's a nice walnut color. I stain the stock. I use the Birchwood Casey walnut stain. I put about 5 coats. I started out really light with the walnut stain water mixture I was using, then I went to a much darker tone to kind of hone it in on what I really wanted for a final color. It came out quite nice. It's very nice and smooth. Some of the darkness you see here is not like blotchiness from the staining. It's actually the wood, the difference in the wood, the color of the wood, the actual wood. To get to where it looks like this, I had to obviously sand it down very nice and smooth. and then what I did was I treated it with some pre-stain wood conditioner by Minwax. It helps prepare wood for staining and prevents blotchiness, and it does. It's a really good tool to use if you are going to stain any wood, not just gun stocks. This is the new upper handguard or piston cover. I had to strip this thing down because it did not match what I was going to be going for, so I stripped it down, sanded it down, and I applied 3 dark coats onto this, and it came out quite well. It's hard to tell in the video, but in real life it matches just right. You could tell it matches. I'm not going to do another coat on this because I really want to get to the next step tonight. That's the old one. Look at the difference. Look at this thing. This is the original one. It's gross. So the next step is the True Oil step, and True Oil is a gun stock finish. This is going to give you your nice shiny look that you see on guns. It's almost like a kind of like a wood floor. I like this wood floor. It's kind of shiny and it's smooth. That's exactly what's going to be like on this, and it's going to make the color pop, the walnut pop quite a bit. It's going to protect the stock. It's going to protect the coat that you, the walnut stain that you put on. What you need to do for this step, for the True Oil, you need to get some cheesecloth, just a small piece, fold it up so you can dip it in. You're probably going to need some gloves so you don't get the True Oil on your hands. And then you're going to finish, you're going to basically rub it down, get a nice coat on there, hang it. Here's a piece of wire. I'm going to just stick it inside the stock on this magazine bar here. I think that's what that's called. Anyway, I'm going to hang it up on a clothesline. I'm going to tie this up with a string so it's on both ends here, and it's just held on this side. And so this part's going to be nice and treated. So once it dries after the first coat, you're going to want to take some steel wool and rough up the fresh coat. I know you're saying, what you're saying is that's crazy. Why would you do that? Because you're going to want to do I'm going to do about 5 coats of the True Oil. I've heard people go as extreme as 16 coats, but you have to think about this. You're going to have this dry every time, so that could take you maybe 16 days if you're really trying to get technical. I don't think I'm going to have to do that. I hope I don't, because that's going to take another half of a month to finish this. Because once this is done, the True Oil process, I'm going to actually put this gun together, and that will be the final part of this video compilation or video. It's going to be the assembled firearm with the finished stock. This has taken me close to a better part of a month to finish. It was originally just going to be a nice clean and shoot kind of gun, but it didn't turn out that way. I think what happens with classic firearms is they end up getting to the bottom of the barrel with firearms, and they're sending them out, and they're not as nice as the ones that are on the top of the barrel. And a lot of people are finding that. I gotta say, again, the receiver, the barrel, the bluing was good. There was a lot of corroded, rusted parts. For example, the piston tube here. I don't know if it will come in. Let me see if I can get it to focus. See that pitting? Very bad. It was really rusted. I got all the rust out. Used steel wool and oil. It usually works, does the trick. All the handguard end caps rusted pretty bad, corroded. Got all the corrosion out of them. Kind of a letdown in a way, but you know, oops, a challenge nonetheless, and helped me learn the ins and outs of this firearm more than I already knew. But yeah, you can see how pitted that was. That was full of rust. Now it's just metal. You know, you don't really need to finish the inside because that's going to be on the inside of the actual handguard here, so you're not going to see that. I was thinking to maybe even re-bluing this, but you know what? We don't need to go that far. So I'm going to assemble this. This is going to be a much prettier gun now. Hopefully everything is good. The trigger took me forever to do. Again, it was very complicated, but this should be the second to last step. Again, the walnut stain by Birchwood Casey. You can use Minwax, Gunstock. There's a couple other different ones you can use. In reality, you could do any color you want to with stain. You could do a red, like a red AK stock almost. It's up to you, but I wanted to go with walnut, kind of keep it to original color, how these used to come out. And then the true oil is the next step, and then reassembling everything after weeks of hard work. It's going to finally pay off, hopefully, and we're almost there. Here it is, all hung up, nice and shiny. It's curing right now. What a difference. What a difference this true oil made. Very, very nice. I mean, it came out. I mean, I'm still doing a couple coats. I'm going to probably do one more. The second coat really, really made it pop. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, can't ask for a better result. The color, the walnut color came out and popped after I started putting the true oil on. It's very nice. There's one spot right on there, the little hump there. That's really, really dark, and it dries out really fast. So I'm thinking what's happening is the true oil is soaking into that spot quite a bit, and it's drying. So I think after that first coat, I think this is going to actually make it shiny finally. It's kind of odd, but anyway, yes, we're getting very close to the end here, everybody. Very, very close. After I do one more coat of this, I'm going to dry it, and I'm going to put the firearm together, and we will be done. We will be done. And I'll show everybody the results as soon as I have it together. There she is. My refinished, refurbished Chinese SKS. Whatever it is, Chinese pattern, Chinese beauty, I don't know. What a gun. See a notch right there? See how sharp that looks right there? That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's done. Tell you, what a rifle to put together. What a rifle to refinish. What a project. The stock came out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. It was my first go around, and I think it came out really nice. One quick tip when it comes to using true oil, the Birchwood Casey true oil, when you're done with your final coat, I know the directions say rough it up with some steel wool to do your next coat. What I found is this comes out really, really shiny, really glossy, super glossy, and I kind of didn't like that. So, and there were some of the surface imperfections of the, there's, I don't know what it was, just like these little dots, and I was like, this sucks. So I found every time I would use the steel wool, it smoothed it out, and also didn't make it as glossy as it was when it just finished drying. So my last coat, I actually used the steel wool all over it and kind of roughed it up a little bit, and that's where I left it. And I think it came out even better by doing that instead of keeping it super glossy. You can see how the bluing's really nice on this, almost perfect on this gun. The barrel, the bore is really nice and shiny too, which is nice. The rifling is really, really good. All matching serial numbers on this guy. You know, came out really nice. SKS does hold a special spot in my heart because it was the first rifle I ever shot. First rifle was a Yugo SKS, and I always wanted to pick up a Chinese SKS. And when I did, I liked the battle worn one so much. It was like, I'm gonna get another one. You know, why not? During the COVID-19, might as well have another project, and that's what I figured. And I got this gun. I thought it was not going to be as difficult in an investment. It sure was. I've had to spend some money getting this guy back up and running, and I actually may have to spend a little more. I want to show everybody something on this gun that kind of was a bummer today. Real big bummer. I mean, not the end of the world, but here's the other side. I put my sling on it, pretty nice. Yeah, I mean, the bayonet, the whole thing is pretty nice. Internal, there's some pitting, but you can't see it because it's covered by the stock, which is great. But yeah, came out really nice. Now, when I was putting this thing together, my last thing I had to do was put the butt pad on and the trap door here for your cleaning kit. I got to this screw here, and as you can see, boom, I cracked the stock. I cracked it good, which really sucks. I was so close to, I was one screw away of finishing this thing, and I cracked the stock. So I hurried up and wood glued it. I threw some more of the walnut stain right around here, and you can't really see it that well on the other side. This is actually pretty blended in, and then I walnut stained it here even darker. And then I'm actually going to put some more True Oil. I'm going to do a few coats just on this spot right here, hopefully to seal it in place. I think it'll be fine. Just sucks that cracked right there. You know, what are you going to do? You know, I may buy another stock and have to refinish it again, but right now I'm done with this project. Done. Great the way it is. I look at these as an investment. You know, I'm never going to sell the battle worn one. That one's awesome, absolutely awesome. This one I may sell someday. This was more of an investment when SKSs, like Chinese SKSs, are not available as readily, because I've seen them in stores almost $500. Worse ones than this, like 20 times worse than this. $500. I know, insane. When these things used to be $99. But that's how CNR guns are. That's how these surplus guns are. So if you see one of these, pick it up. I mean, you can't go wrong. And I would suggest anybody get a CNR, a Curio and Relics license. And you don't have to deal with anything. I mean, transfers nowadays are not happening and sometimes taking forever. You can get this shipped right to your house with a CNR as long as you keep a bound book and records of what your acquisition depositions that you get. So, great investment, good times, really hard to do, a lot of stuff that I've never done before, but I love learning about how to do things with rifles and firearms in general. I've always been interested. I know how to do a lot when it comes to firearms. I could say personally I'm above a standard armorer when it comes to stuff like this. I wouldn't call myself a gunsmith. I never had proper training, but let's just put it this way, I can do quite a bit when it comes to firearms. I could take some firearms apart in my sleep if I had to, put them back together. But anyway, came out great. I cannot complain. Gonna be a good shooter. So if you want something like this, I would highly suggest, you know, go to Classic Firearms, picking it up. And if you have any questions about this video, shoot me a message. I'll try to get back to you. And if you like what I'm doing here, subscribe. And if I get enough subscribers, I'll make some definitely better videos. I have a gun range, and I can do some stuff, and we can definitely make some cool videos. But I want to make it worth it before I show everybody stuff like that, you know. Anyway, a DMCT guy signing off.